And welcome back to WGN-TV Political Report. There has been much debate on Capitol Hill this year over a procedural rule that has long stopped the U.S. Senate from advancing major pieces of legislation. It's called the cloture rule, or the filibuster. Yeah, you've heard of it. The rule says that 60 senators must vote to end debate on many bills before a final vote. With the Senate split 50-50, that means Republicans in the minority can stop a vote from basically ever happening. To be fair, both parties have embraced the ability to slow down the legislative process over the years. President Joe Biden himself, he was a senator for 35 years, has given mixed signals on the future of the filibuster. But this week, he opened the door to a possible change.
Successful electoral politics is the art of the possible. Let's figure out how we can get this done and move in the direction of significantly changing the abuse of even the filibuster rule first. It's been abused from the time it came into being by an extreme way in the last 20 years. Let's deal with the abuse first.
My next guest has written extensively about constitutional law and the filibuster rule. He's also the dean of the University of Illinois College of Law. Dean Vikram Amar joins me this morning to talk about what's next with the filibuster. Dean Amar, good to see you. Thanks for joining me.
You too, Paul. Good to see you. And you did mention that you're an alum of that great law school. So
I think everybody knows.
There we go.
But indeed I am. So let me ask you, a lot of people think that the filibuster rule it's in the Constitution. It's been around since the beginning of time. How long has it been around?
It hasn't been around since the beginning of the Constitution, but it does have a long historical pedigree going back many decades, indeed into the previous centuries. But it does not have any grounding in the Constitution. The Constitution says explicitly that each House of Congress, that is the House of Representatives and the Senate, get to prescribe their own rules. So it's simply an internal rule by the Senate that they agree that not to bring things to the floor unless there is 60 member support, supermajority support. And that's a policy that may make sense for some issues and in some historical moments. But I think the question is whether it makes sense in today's world, given that you have so few people in the middle of the spectrum who are willing to compromise and do business with each other. A filibuster makes a lot more sense if the end goal of getting to 60 is some compromise among folks in the middle. But if you don't really have that middle anymore, then it's harder to argue that a simple majority shouldn't be able to go ahead and rule.
But you make an interesting point, which is to say it is about compromise. That's sort of where it came from. Today, compromise doesn't even seem to be possible. But we also know that once you get rid of the filibuster rule, which Harry Reid did with regard to federal judges, with Mitch McConnell did with regard to the Supreme Court, once it's gone, it's gone. So if they dump the filibuster rule and one day there is a little more sense of possible compromise in the Senate, will this have been seen as a mistake if they dump it?
Well, two things. I think you're right that the reason the filibuster has persisted is, one reason at least, is the concern that each political party has that what might be good for them in the moment might not be good for them down the road if they're in the minority, even if they're in the majority today. But, you know, you can eliminate the filibuster and then you could bring it back if you wanted to in a different era. Again, it's just a function of a Senate rule that requires 51 votes to enact, to repeal, or to reenact. So you could take the position that the filibuster is kind of an historically contingent device that made sense, perhaps, although some people, myself included, maybe thought that it was never such a great idea. But it certainly doesn't make sense today, so the argument would run. And if it makes sense in the future, then we'll resurrect it. But in a world where the way campaign finance works and the gerrymandering that we have in all of our legislative districts tends to reduce the center of the political spectrum and tends to generate more people at both extremes, then maybe the filibuster today is not a great thing to have.
So one of the ways you can get around the filibuster is when you're dealing with a budget rule through the process called reconciliation, which we won't have time to talk about. But the bottom line is that's how the COVID relief bill got through. And then Biden gets one more shot at it, probably with infrastructure, because it's dollars related. Would the Senate be smart if they were dealing with especially voting rights? I'm not sure about the gun law stuff, but with regard to voting rights, to limit the filibuster to say, look, voting is a fundamental right. Of course, owning guns is a fundamental right, but we'll limit it in those aspects as well.
Well, Paul, you already mentioned that the kind of incursions on the broad vision of the filibuster had already been made with regard to Supreme Court appointments and the like. So you can chip away at the filibuster in certain especially important areas and still retain it in other areas. But of course, the more you chip away, if you chip away for voting rights, and then you chip away for immigration policy, because that might be another area where it's almost impossible to imagine getting to 60, or climate change, where it might be hard to get to 60. The more you do that, the more pressure you put on the very existence of the filibuster. And then when the other party is in power, it might want to add more exceptions still. So there is this general concern about, mutually assured destruction, that if we do it, they're going to do it to us. But remember, I think the Democrats today feel like the Republicans have already done a lot of unprecedented things, like holding up Merrick Garland's confirmation and refusing to do business with Barack Obama for almost 8 years at all costs. So I think people feel that we're at a different moment when kind of the genteel institutions of the past are just not as appropriate. Plus, the filibuster does have a racist kind of history to it that a lot of people need to acknowledge.
And
it was used a lot by senators in the South, in the 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s to resist racial equality measures.
And that's one of the reasons I mentioned voting rights, because that would be the argument for not using it on those issues. Vic, less than a minute to go, but I have to ask you, Mitch McConnell has said, you get rid of the filibuster, I will bring the Senate to a screeching halt, you'll regret it. Can he do it?
That's because there are a lot of other devices like the filibuster that give individual senators the power to gum up the works. But again, if there was consensus to get rid of the filibuster, then there could be consensus to get rid of all those other things. At the end of the day, a minority cannot stand in the way of a majority in the United States Congress. That's what democracy means.
Right.
And it's just a question of whether the senators want to really kind of give up all their little perks that they've enjoyed for so long.
All right, Dean Vic Amar of the University of Illinois College of Law. Quick test, ILL.
I&I, baby.
Have a good day. Thanks, Vic.